Hi, good morning. Thank you for everybody joining us. If y'all don't know me, I'm Tara, one of the MedTeam providers with Telemedica. I just wanted to quickly introduce myself to those of you that don't know me, haven't seen me on any videos. We periodically put out some videos to provide some education to our veterans, just to give them a little bit better of an idea of what the MedTeam or the Medical Nexus team can offer, and a few tips and tricks related to our services to help streamline your experience with us and our team, as well as through the VA process. It can be very confusing, and so we do try to help provide a little bit of medical information plus a little bit of process information as well, to try not to get too much into the weeds about things, but to give you a little bit of an overview of things. So today we're going to be talking about headache conditions. Now, I know in the past I've done videos on probably most conditions and things that we're talking about. I periodically update them because sometimes there's new information, sometimes there's a different way I think that we're doing things, or some key information that we get a lot of questions about that I didn't touch upon in my previous videos. So we're going to go through some of the basics, a little highlight of what we're going to talk about a little bit today. First, we're going to talk about the rating criteria, 38 CFR. You'll hear that a lot through a lot of these videos. I'm going to try to standardize things so that you all know what to expect and what we're going to be talking about. So rating criteria, we're going to talk about some common triggers. We're going to talk about what you can do as a veteran to help document your case with particularly headache conditions, and some things about the MedTeam. What would we look for? What sort of things that we're looking for in your chart, looking for from you as far as information providing to us to kind of help your case and help your situation a little bit smoother with the MedTeam. So first thing that I want to talk about is the 38 CFR. A lot of people talk about it. This is the regulation that the VA uses. Code of Federal Regulations is what it stands for, to rate service-connected conditions. So every condition that the VA rates is a part of this document. It's easily Google searched. It's something that we reference all the time when we're doing our documents, because we like to coordinate what you're telling us into what is the rating that the VA is going to be looking at. And so this is something that we sort of work hand in hand with. As far as headache conditions, all headache conditions are rated the same. There's one code, all headaches. So whether it's tension headache, migraine, whether it's coming from any different source, it doesn't matter. If it's a headache, headache is a headache, according to the rating criteria, according to the VA. So what they look for in some of these conditions when we talk about ratings is various different factors. Not all the time is it how the veteran feels. And it's not always how severe your condition is. Sometimes there are other outlying factors that could play a role. And you knowing this ahead of time can help you gather the right evidence and submit it to the VA. It's a lot of times things you may not think about to submit to the VA in order to prove how severe your situation is. And so this is why we do some of these videos. So one thing is severity. So you want to have headache conditions that are documented as far as how severe you're having them. So you're going to want to see your doctor on a fairly regular basis to make sure that they're documenting your situation clearly and concisely. You want to get severity. You want to know how frequently are you having them. You want to know some triggers. You want to know, have them documenting what sets off the migraines or tension headaches, what makes them better, what makes them worse. Have you always noticed certain features? This is something that you're going to want to talk to your doctor about in detail to make sure that your headache condition is actually documented correctly. Part of the 38 CFR talks about symptoms. So having those symptoms, frequency, more than once a month is a certain rating criteria, and less frequently than that is another. Just having occasional symptoms is another. And so it just varies based off of symptoms and severity, symptoms and how frequently. And so the next level, the level that a lot of people try to talk about, or that higher level ratings, they talk a little bit more about how the 38 CFR talks a little bit more about how severe they impact you. Now, one thing it mentions is economic inadaptability. What does that mean? Honestly, it's really a vague topic. Who only knows? It's whatever the rater feels is demonstrative of economic inadaptability. So to me personally, what I see that as is your headache condition is so severe that it causes a disruption in your ability to function at work, hold a job, um, financially support and provide for your family. All of those things I feel support that definition, but there's no clear guidelines saying you must meet this checkbox X, Y, and Z, and it means economic inadaptability. So that's why I'm saying that there are definitely different ways that you need to be able to have this documented, and knowing what that criteria is going to help you, because you're going to be able to look at your condition, because you know your condition better than anybody else. And you want to make sure that your doctor understands your condition. You want to make sure that you're submitting all the documentation to show the VA what your condition is. But if you don't know what that criteria is, you may not know to submit some of that documentation in support of your claim. So that's the basics of the 38 CFR relating to headaches. Sweet, simple, short, easy. Symptoms, severity of them, how frequently they're happening, and are they interfering with your life, and how are they doing that? One thing that popped up that Dallas had mentioned on our chat box here is Migraine Buddy app. Yes. So we're going to dive into what the vet can do in order to show this. So Migraine Buddy app is great. You don't even need a Migraine Buddy. You use old-fashioned pen and paper. You can write down when you have a headache, what triggers, what sort of things are happening, if you have to lie down, if lights bother you, and what the situation was. How long did it last? What did it interfere with in your life? Were you able to work? Were you not able to work? Just start documenting what these things are and track them, because that's going to help not just us if we're doing a Nexus letter for you, but it's also going to help your doctor. It's going to help the VA. It's going to help everybody who you come into contact with to understand what your headache condition is all about and how to help treat it. Because ultimately, you don't want to have that headache. You want to actually feel good and go about your day, go about your business, go about your life. And so sometimes it's not about VA ratings and getting your disability, is about getting you treated and healthy. So definitely use a tracking system can be helpful. There's probably a lot of free ones out there, and not one is better than another. We don't endorse one over another. I just say get the information down one way or the other. Pen and paper, app, whatever is easiest for you to do. The other thing is you can do as a veteran to help support your case is get things documented. If you're missing work, have that documented. If it's because of your headache, maybe have your boss write a note that you missed work, and because of this headache, this is why you needed to call in from work. Get that certified. You don't need to get it officially certified, but just get your boss to kind of write something down, get documentation of it somehow, show it on a pay stub that you've used all of this sick time, somehow correlate that can actually show how severe your condition is and how much you're suffering, because pain and suffering are two different things. So one, we all feel pain. So I get it. Headaches hurt. They're terrible. I've had them. It's terrible. That's pain. Suffering is all of the other things that come along with it. And so your level of severity is a combination of pain and suffering. So you have to show that somehow. So don't just think about the actual pain that you're experiencing at the moment. Think of all the other things it's impacting. Making sure that you're seeing your doctor regularly is something that you can do. Even if they're not doing anything different, having regular checkups, even if it's a yearly checkup, that's going to be helpful, because then it gives your doctor a way to check in with you and say, hey, how are things going? How is this medication working? If it's not working, they might have other options. They may have other medications. They may have other tools. It's not just all about throwing pain medication at these things. There could be other techniques, whether it's massage, acupuncture, chiropractic care. There's a whole host of other treatments out there. So touching base with your doctor periodically is going to be something that you can do to help your case as well, because you're going to want to demonstrate to the VA, if you're telling me your condition is so severe, it's the worst thing that you've ever experienced, it completely ruins your life, and you have one medical record in the last 5 years, that's really going to be a little bit difficult. That's something that is going to be based off of a lot of what you say, which is great. There is definitely something to you telling your story, but having that extra evidence is really going to give you that extra solid foundation for building your claim and showing how bad your condition is. What sort of things does MedTeam need? Well, one, a diagnosis. We write Nexus letters based off of diagnosed conditions. So you need a diagnosis. You can go to your doctor. You can go to, if they're sending you to a specialist, you can provide that documentation to us. That's always helpful. I know that Telemedica has a diagnosis team as well, and that's an option for you. So there's a lot of different options, especially in the situation we're dealing right now with the pandemic, where it's a little bit harder to get in to see your doctor sometimes, or there are virtual calls, you're calling in. As long as you're taking care of yourself and you're demonstrating to the VA that you're taking care of yourself and that documenting your condition, it's going to help your claim. So there's lots of options out there to get this taken care of. The MedTeam also could use any imaging studies. So if your doctor sends you for an MRI of your brain, or you go to the emergency room because your headache is so severe, nothing is working for it, and they do a CAT scan of your head, getting those documents for us is going to be helpful. We're also going to want to have at least a problem list, if not a couple of notes from your doctor, just kind of going over your general medical health, because we're going to want to see a little bit more about your headache. We're not going to be treating you for anything, but sometimes a little bit more information can be helpful. Uploading 1,000 pages of unrelated things is not going to really be helpful if it's targeted towards your headache condition or just your general medical problems. That's something the MedTeam will be very interested in looking at, so that we can identify and understand your condition all at once. One thing that we can also be helpful for both the veteran and us, buddy letters. Buddy letters are great. Support letters from family, friends, coworkers, anybody who has an understanding of what's an experience with your condition is going to be helpful. Writing a personal statement, very, very impactful in my opinion. I feel like when your case goes in front of the VA rater, they have your medical documentation, they have your Nexus letters, they have the CMP examiner's notes, they have all of this evidence. But if your condition is not clearly documented well in your records, you're going to want to read your records. You're getting them and you're submitting them, so you should at least have a familiarity with them. But if you're not quite savvy with that, you're not quite comfortable with understanding the medical lingo, not quite feeling like it's painting an accurate picture, doing a personal statement and submitting that along with some buddy statements that are very powerful, I think, in your case. It's something I've used before. I've seen a lot of great buddy statements that have really helped paint how severe this condition is. And for me, that actually makes writing a Nexus letter a little bit easier sometimes, because then I have a clear understanding of exactly how you feel, even if your doctor didn't document more than the medical jargon that I need to know about your condition. Actually telling me how you feel from it, what it prevents you from doing, interferes with your ability to spend time with family and friends, play with your children. All of that is very impactful, I think, for your claim to show the severity of your condition. So those are all very, very good things to use. Triggers. Let's talk a little bit about triggers. So we get questions all the time about connecting your headache condition to something else. We don't find connections. That's not something that is morally, ethically, something legally what we do. What we do look for in your medical records are evidence for what could be causing it. Now, you're most likely, the veteran is not a medical professional, and most of the time that's not the case. So they're not expected to be able to decipher things like that all the time. But you can help us out with noting your triggers. So if you're documenting your case on Migraine Buddy app or on a pen and paper and saying, wow, I'm getting these very severe headaches, and it's relating every time I feel really stressed. Every time I get into a fight with my wife, every time I'm financially stressed, every time this happens, I'm feeling like my headache condition is worse. That's a trigger. So pay attention to that. Some people have triggers that are that stress, anxiety, depression, PTSD, some of those mental health conditions. It just really plays on your central nervous system and can trigger a headache, can start a headache, can make a headache worse, prolong a headache. There's research out there that shows all of these things are very, very possible by mental health conditions. So that's a major trigger. If your mental health condition is poorly controlled, or you have periods of flares where your mental health condition is controlled, then something sets that off, and then that starts a snowball effect of then you get a headache after that. Just pay attention to timing. What's going on in your life around the time you're getting these headaches, because you might be able to not only find a way to reduce the amount of headaches you're having by recognizing what triggers it and stopping it before it happens, but also understanding what is causing that and trying to combat that with different tools. And that'll help your doctor as well. If you're finding that stress and anxiety causes a lot of your headaches, your doctor may find that as useful to be able to treat you, because throwing medication at it may not work. It might be massage, heat, it might be relaxation techniques, it might be seeing your mental health provider a little bit more frequently. There's a lot of different ways to deal with that. So all of these things are helpful in many different ways, not just for VA disability ratings. Another common trigger, we were talking muscular pain, chronic pain, not just tension, headache from your neck. Chronic pain can amplify the signals, making headaches worse at times, where it lowers, the theory is that it lowers the threshold of pain. So you have chronic pain happening, and therefore when you have this headache, sometimes that can cause the headache to be triggered sooner or more severe than what it would have been if you weren't experiencing that chronic pain. So it kind of just brings down, it takes you to get to level 10 to have a headache. But when you're having chronic pain from your back, your neck, your shoulders, or something else, that could, instead of getting that headache triggered at a 10, gets that headache triggered at a 5. And so there is some research into that as well. So pain can be a trigger. Some people have ringing in their ears. Tinnitus can be a trigger. It depends on how severe it is. A lot of times people will have these episodes of some lower level ringing, some higher level ringing, and that can trigger it. That can just, that persistent noise that you're hearing can really just set off a headache or make a headache worse. Say you already have a little mild headache. You woke up with one, it's kind of just low level. You take a little medication, you do a few things, it's there, but you're functional. And then all of a sudden you're getting these episodes of ringing in your ear. And then you notice your headache is much worse. That is something that is a trigger. And so documenting, like I said, I know I repeat myself, but it's extremely important. Paying attention, being in tune to your body, being in tune to how you feel is important in some of these things, and it helps us help you. Those are a lot of the common ones. I've seen situations where we talk about situational headaches. So if you are experiencing something like sleep apnea, and that requires wearing that CPAP mask, and you have a severe neck condition with arthritis in your neck and that's service connected, and you're just not able to get into the position for your neck, your service connected neck condition that is comfortable because of your service connected sleep apnea. All of these things tie together. So it's not just as simple as one thing causes this or one thing triggers it. It could be a string of things. It could be this service connected condition causes this, that causes this, that causes that. And so I want to talk quickly about triggers can be not just causative, meaning one causes the other. It could be aggravational. So if a lot of you have heard about those two different things, they're very different. So causative means this caused that. It is a cause and effect, true, simple, easy, nothing confusing about it. A lot of times migraine headaches are not being caused by a service connected condition. A lot of times it's more aggravation. This is where we talk about the triggers. So you have a baseline headache condition that, just using for an example, you get 1 or 2 a month, pretty severe, put you down for a day or two, really terrible. But you have your service connected condition and you're noticing that this is your baseline, 1 to 2. All of a sudden, this condition is getting worse. this other service connected condition. And then you're noticing your headache condition is getting worse, and you're documenting and relating this in some way as to this is triggering it. So that is how aggravation works. So the VA is going to want to see the demonstration on how it's aggravated. It's not just, oh, it's connected because it's secondary to this. You need to show aggravation. You need to show your baseline first. What is your baseline? And this goes back to documenting, goes back to having visits with your doctor, having this written down, having an idea of where you have been, and then now you're at this entirely new level. And having that clearly documented is going to it's going to help you really show the timeline to the VA. Because if this is truly aggravated by your service connected condition that got worse, timeline like that is going to show it. You're going to show your doctor's visits. You're going to show your new doctor's visits. It's really going to fall together and really show what you're actually feeling. So that is extremely important in my opinion. So this is a quick overview. I'd like to get into some questions now. That was sort of my big top key points on what we talk about or what we think about as far as the Medical Nexus team about headache conditions. But I want to hear from you guys to see if there's something that I'm not covering that I might be able to answer here. Let's see if we have any good questions out there. Let's see here. So someone asked, who can write a buddy letter? Pretty much anybody. Pretty much anybody who has a knowledge of your condition. The VA, a lot of times I've seen in some denial letters or some award letters to where they talk about buddy letters. They talk about credibility. They talk about what they demonstrate. So you're not just going to want to get 15 buddy letters. Honestly, I feel that clogs up your case a little bit. You're going to want to think about who has the best knowledge to be able to demonstrate some of the facts. You want to stick to the facts, not just how bad you feel, because you can cover some of that in a personal letter. Sometimes family members can really speak to what you're missing in your life, the items that the headache are taking away, how strained your relationships are. So sometimes family letters can help with that. Friend letters can sometimes help with showing your demeanor, showing your change, showing how you point of view that you're not getting from yourself. So a point of view of they're always used to be happy. Now they're getting all these headaches. I've been with them and know that they've gotten 4 headaches this month, which is aligning with your documentation of your headaches. And so sometimes that can be helpful. Like I said, coworkers, bosses, to show how much, if you've missed work because of it, that can help. And so another question I got was, how do you figure in triggers if you only wake up with the headache? So that is definitely a tough one. So you can think a little bit about when you're waking up with a headache, there are several things that can cause that. Every case is very different, so I'm just going to throw out a few things that, medically speaking, that I'm looking for if I'm evaluating a patient about when they're telling me they're waking up with headaches. We talk about sleep apnea. Are you having a headache from that? Because if you're sleeping in a weird position, there's the muscular component of it that can wake up and cause headaches. Sometimes sleep apnea can cause, if you don't know a lot about that condition, it kind of deprives you of oxygen. It lowers a lot of people experience low oxygen levels. So that can actually cause, it's called hypoxia. That can cause and trigger headaches. And so if you're not finding a reason for your headaches, but you're always waking up with them, think of other things. Are you not sleeping very well? Are you having things, in your life disrupted, or you're not able to focus, not able to function, this is why seeing your doctor is very important, because telling them not just I have a headache, but telling them situationally, I always wake up with a headache, that'll prompt them to do a little bit further investigation as to what's going on with that. So there's a lot of reasons for headaches too. Dehydration, that can cause it as well. And so sometimes you need to think about what else is going on. Another person had asked about rhinitis and sinusitis. Yes, that can cause headaches. Your sinuses are all here, and there's some on your head back here as well. Most people only think about the ones up front. There are other ones that can be causing it. So yes, chronic rhinitis and sinusitis can cause headaches. They can be triggers for these conditions. You could also have seasonal allergies, depending on what's going on in your world. I'm down here in San Antonio. We just had, I think the other day, I just saw the mold levels were really high. So I know that's a trigger for a lot of people with their allergies, is mold levels. So thinking about not just you waking up with your headache, think about what else is going on in the environment. So just start asking very broad questions of yourself. Think about asking yourself, what's going on around me, what's going on in my environment, what's happening in my diet, my life. Just start thinking very broad questions, and you might actually come to a trigger that you didn't think about, even though you wake up with a headache. And so that's a very, very good question. And so let's see here. All right, connecting tinnitus to mental health. Whole nother topic connecting ringing to your mental health. It depends on the situation. That one is a tough one, because if you're talking about TBI or a brain injury, if you're talking about depends on what the mental health condition is, and how you got to that point. So that's a tough one to really comment on, especially, like I said, in our headache talk. There are a lot of things, this brings up a point, there are a lot of things that can intertwine. So triggers are one thing we're talking about, but there's also an intertwining of things. Aggravation kind of follows into this pathway, because you may have a lot of things going on. You may have a brain injury. You may have the TBI. You may have a mental health condition. You may have headaches from physical conditions like sinusitis or rhinitis. You may have all of the above. You may have other factors that are coming into play that we're not thinking about, or that we don't know about. So it's a lot of individual evaluation, and that's sort of what the Medical Nexus team does when we do a complete chart review. We look at the condition that you're requesting. So we are more than happy to review any condition that you think is service connected. And we take a look at your record for that. We take a look at what circumstances surround your situation, and the more information you provide to us when we're asking you some of these questions, the better, and the more that it helps trying to figure out what's causing your condition. And if it's not what causing it, what is aggravating your condition? It may be a combination of service-connected conditions and non-service-connected conditions. And depending on what that looks like, our Nexus letter may look like a combination of things, because at the end of the day, we're talking about at least as likely or more than likely. Those are positive, supportive Nexus letters in favor of your connection. So at least as likely really means at least 50%. So 50-50. There's a lot of things that could be contributing that may not be. And it's a matter of showing that if we're talking service connection, that your service connecting condition is significantly contributing. So you may have more than one thing going on. And so there's these conditions are not just one size fits all. This is not something that is just recycled, regurgitated information. The Medical Nexus team takes a look at each individual case and tries to tailor your document to your particular condition, because that's really the right way to do it. And so that's what's going to get you the best evidence letter that you're looking for. It's providing us a lot of those items. So I had gotten a question of, can tinnitus cause migraines? No. Tinnitus cannot cause migraines. They can aggravate migraines. So not to deviate too far, tinnitus, ringing in the ear, is a lot of times thought to be from a couple of different, there's a lot of different theories. So I don't think that they have really settled on, at least from what my experience is in the literature, it's settled on a true and tried, this causes it. They know that hearing loss, hearing exposure can lead to this, leads to hearing loss as well, but it damages the inner hairs and the inner functionings of the inner ear. So that can cause it. There's also other things in the inner ear. Crystals can cause headaches, can cause different symptoms in the ear, in your ear, but it's not a causative where it actually produces headaches. So when we talk about tinnitus and we're connecting that, it's an aggravational connection. So it's something that a lot of people confuse that because they'll get the ringing first and then they get the headache. And it's, oh, my ringing caused my headache. It might have been there on a very mild level that you may not have really recognized. So you might have already had the headache. That's one way. Or it could trigger a headache, but it's not as causing as what medical professionals consider cause and effect. So we're talking different levels of triggers that, yes, you could have it before your headache starts, and that's still an aggravation. So wrapping up, I want to just touch real quick, wrapping up on what we talked about. And so we talked about the headache 38 CFR rating criteria, severity of your headache, frequency, how often it's happening, and how is it impacting your life. Get creative. There are lots of ways to show that, but documenting it is important. That's what we talked about. What can you do as the veteran to help your case? Document. So writing it down, seeing your doctor, seeking additional care, it's not a one size fits all kind of a treatment plan. So you may have other treatment methods and modalities that your doctor may try, which could help you. What the med team needs, your diagnosis. They need to see clearly you have a diagnosis. They need to see your e-benefits. They need to see exactly how your service-connected conditions are listed, because a lot of times, especially when we're talking about mental health conditions, it's important to know, are you connected for PTSD, depression, anxiety, alcohol use disorder, chronic pain, or SSD, all of the above. And so it's important to see that e-benefits, to really see exactly how the VA worded it so that we know exactly what they are categorizing your condition as. Also, having your history of any other testing. So if you had MRIs, if you had other testing significant or related to your headaches, if you saw a neurologist, all of those can be helpful to the med team. Personal statements, buddy statements can help to really show us exactly how you're feeling and how it's impacting you. All of those things uploaded ahead of time is really going to be helpful for us. And then we talked about triggers. So we talked about the common ones that people think about: muscular pain, chronic pain in general, ringing in your ear, mental health conditions, sleep apnea, rhinitis, sinusitis. There's lots of things that can trigger it. Those are not end all be alls. It can be a lot of things. Documenting is going to get you there. Thinking about what triggers it is going to get you to that connection and what's truly causing it, if you're able to document patterns. So those are the big key things that we talked about, and those big key things that we think about when we're talking about headache conditions. So short, sweet, nice little 30-minute talk about that. We're going to be getting involved with other conditions. We're going to be updating some videos here and there. So we're going to get on to some sort of schedule here soon to where you can anticipate hearing from me, the Medical Nexus team, to just really talk about all these different conditions that are impacting you and all these things that we hear about. We get a lot of questions from various veterans about a lot of these things that we want to bring to you as a whole. We want to touch upon the ones that are most common that we hear all the time, because you're not always a medical professional. And so you may not have this information. And some of this is not tricking anybody. This is not coming to the VA, prepared with a checkbox of items. This is educating you on all of these different factors that you may not be aware of, that you actually are experiencing, but you don't know that matter. So we're trying to bring you the information that matters to your claim so that you can demonstrate to the VA exactly how you feel, exactly how severe your condition is in the right way. So I hope you all enjoyed it. We definitely will take any comments that you have. If you have a request, don't hesitate. You can email customer service and say, hey, I have a request for a video, and they'll get that information to me. So however you want to provide that question, we can accommodate and try to see if we can gather up some key topics and key questions that you're asking a lot of. If you have a representative or a coach with a veteran coach with VA Claims Insider, sometimes you can go through those channels. If you're reaching us at Telemedica, from that, you have an accredited agent. There's lots of accredited agents out there that also may have some good direction that work with the VA, that are through the VA, that you may learn a few things that say, I don't know a lot about this, but I'm getting a nexus letter. Let me ask the provider. Don't hesitate to ask the provider about your condition, because they may be able to provide you some information about your condition that you're confused on and clarify that for you. So we got lots of ways to reach us. So we're always here, and I'm happy to help, happy to provide any additional information I can. So please reach out to us, and hopefully we'll see you, like I said, signing up on our MedTeam sheet to help work on a nexus letter if you need one. All right, y'all take care and have a great day.